on this computer. Okay. All right, it's recording.
Do you want to share the screen?
Oh wait, maybe I should open the PowerPoint first. I actually don't know how this, I don't remember how to do this with Google Slides. So if I present, so do you see the whole presentation filling up the screen?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. All right, hello. Welcome to our, this would be our monthly workshop, but less of a workshop today, more casual, and trying to just break down some nutrition myths and answer some questions that we got in our sign-up sheet. So let's go ahead. Oh, and then of course, check out our socials and follow us and find this recording on our YouTube channel later on. So pretty. Okay. All right, so do you want to introduce ourselves now?
Sure, sure.
Okay, we'll just do that first.
Okay.
Well, I'm already talking, I'll start. All right, my name is Natalie, hi. I'm the co-chair of the Health and Nutrition Committee for the Graduate Student Association. I'm a chemistry major, or in the chemistry department, doing my PhD studying HIV proteins with X-ray crystallography.
Okay, so my name is Rita, and I'm part of the nutrition department. I mean, the one program, ISPP program. We're trained to be a registered dietitian, and also we're doing the master class. And Amanda and I, we're in the same program.
Yeah.
Amanda? Mm-hmm.
Amanda. So yeah, like Rita said, I'm in the ISPP program as well. So yeah.
Okay, and so next.
My name is Vimy, and I'm just excited to attend because my husband and I, we always have debates on health and nutrition.
Oh.
I really wanted to learn what are the myths and, you know, educate myself.
Okay, thank you, Vimy. I bring your questions.
You provided one of these questions probably, right? Okay.
Okay, let's see.
So how do I get the picture of the people out of the way? Okay. All right, so some of the questions that we got in our sign-up sheet were, is it healthy to eat 1 cube of cheese a day? Which has some implications regarding like eating one thing that may not be the best for you, but eating it every day. Another question is, if you have I guess an inquiry instead of a question, but if we have any useful information about GERD, which is a disease that they, Ua and Amanda will discuss in length. And yeah, the third question, what are some of the best first steps to improving eating habits with food desserts, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to because desserts are quite addicting.
I think they asked food deserts.
It's okay, yeah.
We would also like to know about that too. What is a food desert?
We can talk about both, sure.
Definitely.
Oh, so fun. All right, go for it.
Okay, yeah, so the first one was asked, is it healthy to eat a cube of cheese a day? So a very vague question, honestly, because first of all, there's a lot of different types of cheese and how big is the cube, right? Is it like this or is it like, you know, so obviously kind of a vague question, but the general answer is basically that it depends on an individual's situation and their diet and how healthy they are already. But generally, you want to have a pretty balanced diet. So you'll see on like the diagram on the right, we have the My Plate, if, you know, some people are familiar with that. So it's just talking about having a balanced diet between greens, protein, fruits, veggies, and then dairy. So cheese can be part of that dairy category. So if you're having just a small cube of cheese a day or like the equivalent of that, that's totally fine because, you know, it's about portion sizing and it's about moderation. So if you're having a small piece of cheese every day, that's totally fine as long as you have a balanced diet with it. And of course, you want to watch for what kind of cheese you're having. So like high fat cheese versus a low fat cheese is going to be different. But either way, again, having 1 cube of cheese a day should generally be okay. That's our answer.
So next. Oh, I think we skipped one.
My bad. Did I skip one? I'm like struggling now.
I think we have a good one.
Let me take a look.
I think it must be after this, right? This is for the food desserts. And then
Might have gotten, did someone delete it by accident? I can talk about the third question first if we want to find the.
Okay.
Okay, I'll talk about this question first.
let me go back.
Yeah, the food deserts one. Okay, so just to, while Rita's looking for the second question about GERD, I'll talk about food deserts a little. So for anyone who's not familiar with what food deserts are, it's basically areas where food access is pretty limited. So it could be like, for example, even New Brunswick, you know, in the local Rutgers area could be considered a food desert in some areas because there's a lot of bodegas, but not a lot of supermarkets with like a large access to food. So the question was, what are the best first steps to improving eating habits within food deserts? So our answer is mostly about kind of working with what you have in the food deserts. So if you can get access to at least canned foods or frozen foods, that could work. You just want to be mindful when choosing them. This also works if you're, you know, just spending on a budget. Canned foods and frozen foods work really well. You want to try to go for frozen fruits and vegetables though that don't have a lot of salt added or, you know, too many additives. It's just kind of frozen and canned foods on its own without any added syrup or salt. You also want to try to make half your grain sources whole grains. So even if you're having some kind of processed foods like breads or crackers or something like that, at least trying to get some whole wheat or whole grains of some sort into your diet could still work. And the main thing is to just plan and prepare meals ahead. So the planning part is kind of, you know, making sure you know what's available, even if you're in a food desert. So if there's a 1 or 2 stores that you have access to, at least, you know, making the time to look through what they have, maybe even talking to the workers there to see exactly what they have. Maybe you missed something or, you know, they're not placed in the areas you thought they'd be, just to make sure that you really know exactly what you have access to and you're able to prepare your meals ahead accordingly.
I think I add the slide after this, the GERD one. Do you want to try?
Did you just add it?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Then I need to stop sharing and share the new one.
Mimi, do you have any questions so far, by the way? I know these might not be the questions you had specifically, but if you have any questions, go ahead.
But Indian food has a lot of spices. So my question is, how much is spicy healthier, like different kind of spices?
Good question.
That's a good question. Mita, do you have anything to say or I can go ahead?
Do you asking like specific for the spicy ones or just like generally spices?
Right, general spices.
General spices. Okay, so basically, we would like say it's still the like portion size and it's still for the like amount you're put in your dishes. And if you don't have any like restriction or sodium restriction, phosphorus restriction, because sometimes those spices are including some sodium like salt or some others include phosphorus. If you don't have any those kind of limitation, those restriction, you can like add moderately like anything you want. But we wouldn't like recommend you like put too much. That will like cover all the flavor and all the food taste, the original. Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Amanda?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like the spices themselves, I don't think they're unhealthy specifically. It's just usually if you add a lot of salt with it, like in your dishes, that's the part that you might have to watch out for. The spices themselves, like as far as I know, for general diets is fine.
Yeah. And do you have any other questions?
And what is your take on wheat? Like we eat a lot of rotis, which is bread. And I have realized that whenever I eat that, there is a lot of gastric problem that I personally go through. So I know that I'm not very familiar with the gluten-free concept. I'm becoming familiar, but would you recommend eating wheat in day-to-day life?
Okay.
Or is it something that needs to be avoided too, or?
Okay, we can definitely include that kind of person later, that kind of the question later, but generally for the gluten-free, what I heard from your question, you are not sure like if you should eat gluten because sometimes when you eat gluten, you feel like a little acid reflux.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, if you don't have any, if you feel discomfort after you consume the gluten, you might want to like keep track like what kind of food, because you're not sure like if it's the gluten or if it's other like composition in the food. And if that's the case, you might want to like cut down the gluten. But if someone who has like who are not diagnosed with the disease who cannot process the gluten in their body because they usually don't have that like enzyme. If people in that position, they have the celiac disease and they can't eat gluten at all. But for others who has that enzyme in the body, they can eat gluten. And there's no like such thing that good or bad for the gluten. It's just if you eat, it's like it's discomfort of your stomach, maybe you should cut down because everyone's different. Their body has different direction. And it's also like depends on like how's your body in that certain period. Maybe it's just your stomach is sensitive at that period.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, if you think it's the wheat that's the culprit, it is a good idea to kind of keep track of it. Like, okay, like today I had the wheat roti and like it bothered my stomach. And then every time you have that, like track how many times it bothers you. And if it bothers you every time, then that's when you know you might, if you really want to confirm, like maybe you could see a doctor or registered dietitian, because then they can confirm for you if you actually have like what Rita was saying, if you have celiac or something like that. But yeah, and if you want that, you can avoid it. But I know like sometimes it's really hard to avoid wheat, but there are gluten-free options, I know. So yeah, I would just start to track that.
Mm. Thank you, Wimi, for that question. That kind of give us a chance to talk about our third questions. Yeah. So the third, yeah. So I'm gonna like talk about this question first, and then we can take your more questions about that. And so for the GERD, we have a specific questions asking about the GERD symptoms, which is commonly as known as the acid reflux. So some symptoms, commonly you will have like heartburn. And actually these questions came with very detailed. So we got like the student who asked this question, he or she wants to know like how often she or he needs to eat and what he should or she should eat. And also he or she asked about the a special diet, I think is alkaline diet. And I will talk about that a little bit later. And here's the general tips for the GERD, like for the acid reflux. So first, that be smaller frequent meals may help to resolve or to relieve the acid reflux. And that kind of relate to the questions. Like if you ask like how often you should eat, it really depends on like how your stomach can handle this amount of food. So basically, we would suggest you have like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if you can process that like portion that amount of food at one meal, you can divide them into 4 or 5 times per day. Like you can have a morning snack or afternoon snack, but that really depends on if you can handle that amount of the meals and you feel fine after that, you can perfectly adapt in that. So, and also for the smaller meals, that will help your stomach to process food easily, so you won't feel like any heartburn or acid reflux. Like at least like less than that, less acid reflux. And second, you may want to wait a few hours after eating before you're lying down, like before you have your before you want to go to sleep. That a few hours usually defined as 3 hours. So you always want to eat your dinner 3 hours prior to your sleeping. And so third, that would be keep a food journal to track triggers. It's kind of the same. It's kind of related to the questions Wimi just asked. So for the GERD patient, we have some common trigger that we will talk about later. That would be the food that you definitely want to avoid. But there's also, like, as we talked about, like everybody has different reaction to different food. So as a registered dietitian or a doctor, they would suggest you to keep a food journal to track triggers. Like maybe you want to keep, at first you want to keep simple, like you only have 3 items, food items for this meal, and you still feel discomfort and you want to exclude one by one so that you know like which food will bring you discomfort at this point. And some common food you should avoid if you have GERD, like high-fat food and tomatoes, citric, all those acid citric fruit, and maybe caffeine and any beverage contain caffeine. And also you want to avoid alcohol, chocolate, and spices. Some spices, especially for the spicy ones. And then also the peppermint, they are the common, the casas. And the next would be do not smoke. That also will stress your stomach in some way. Yeah. And then we suggest to raise the head of your bed 6 to 9 inches, just for your body to have a good position to avoid acid reflux while you're sleeping. And then for the exercise, at least 3 or 4 times each week, so you can like get a general or good body condition. And then the last not least, we suggest you to consult a registered dietitian, because for the food journal, you had that if they have like evaluate like about the food you have eat, they may have give you like some more professional suggestions. And yes, and for the alkaline diets, we don't really recommend that. But if that the diet you have like adopt for a period of time and you feel like you're fine and you like that diet, you can keep on, because as we said before, everybody has a different body reaction to different food. So we don't really have enough science evidence behind alkaline diet to support they really resolve the acid reflux or any other disease. Do you have anything you want to add, Amanda?
No, that's good.
Okay. So next slide. So that's all the questions we got before. And Mimi, do you have more questions we would love to take?
I heard you saying that if someone is very much accustomed with the concept of having a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's one way probably that person is used to that lifestyle. But if someone, like for example, in my particular case, I am accustomed of having small meals every 2 hours. So is there like a fixed style that this is something much more healthier, like having breakfast, lunch, dinner versus small meals? Or would you recommend that it depends from person to person, and when you have a small meal, what you're eating, I think, should be given more priority, but really doesn't matter if you're having small meals every 2 hours or 3 hours?
Do you want to take it, Amanda?
Yeah. I was going to agree with what you said, the second part. Like, it is very individualized. So if the smaller meals work for you, and like you said, if you're having good foods, like the components of each meal is okay, then yeah, that's fine. Because, 3 big meals isn't realistic for everyone, depending on your lifestyle. So yeah, as long as you're still having balanced meals throughout the day, then you should be okay.
Yeah. And also when we talk about the balanced meal, we don't really say that you have to have like this amount of the food at this meal. We're talking about like one day. You can have the balanced meal per day.
I just had one comment just because like I've been through having like that issue with having trouble with like, or having suspicion of having trouble with like a particular food. It's just, I mean, you can definitely like doing the food journal and like tracking everything, like what you're eating and the reaction definitely helps. But if that is failing you for some reason, then like you could also just try just eliminating that from your diet for like a few days. Like I don't know, like maybe 3, let's just say. And then like after 3 days, you know, eat or drink that item again and then see how that affects you that day. Cause then it'll be very clear on that day, like, oh, that was what did it, to like, you know, to make you feel uncomfortable. So that's helped me a lot, at least.
Mm-hmm. Agree with it. Yeah. That's actually a good way for us to suggest people to introduce a new food, like try after a few days, you can try slowly add them in and then to see if you can accept that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. No,
Matt, do you have any other questions that you want to ask?
Do I have any other questions? I got so stuck on this that I entirely forgot.
Okay, we can move on to, I had some like pre-prepared myths that Rita, you know, gathered for us to talk about.
Oh, wait, Wimi, do you have like more questions you want to talk about?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
How much amount of water intake is right day to day? I mean, personally for me, I know that I'm able to drink very less water.
Mm-hmm.
But is there something again that this much water should go in the body?
For that question, actually, we don't really have, the dietary guideline to ask like, we can have 9 to 11 cups of water every day, but that would include all the water from your food. So you can't really measure that. So I would say, like, if you don't have any other disease, you know, you're like generally healthy person, you can just listen to your body. I know my friends, like some of my friends, they just drink like 2 cups of water every day, and they're perfect fine. But I have to like drink 8 cups of water, okay, so I can feel like I'm staying hydrated. So that's very like different among individuals.
Okay.
But the dietary like guideline recommend to like 9 to 11 cups, in a 9 for like female and 11 for male. Do you remember, Amanda?
I don't remember exactly, but we can search it up also and kind of like link you to that resource.
Yes.
I would definitely just drink water right when you wake up. I think that's the easiest. Like just right when you like, I don't know, for some reason, like your body gets pretty dehydrated like when you're asleep. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys know, but if you just drink water right when you wake up, then like, you know, you don't need to worry too much about like how much water you're drinking throughout the day because you're already starting out like kind of hydrated.
Oh, that's new to me. Is that if you like drink 1 cup of water, like when you wake up, you will feel like hydrated like all day? That's
oh no. I'm not saying like you're good for the whole day, you don't need to drink water, but like you will. Like if you don't drink water in the morning, then as you go about your day, you will have to be thinking about like, or you might want to be thinking about like, oh, should I drink some water? Like have I had enough water today? But if you just drink it right but when you wake up, it's like it doesn't need to be like this chore like, oh, did I drink enough water today? Because you at least drank some when you woke up.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just like, it makes me feel better, at least. It makes me easier to start my day.
Yeah, because after a long night, our body doesn't really have anything, process anything. So maybe some water will wake up our body as well and make our stomach or all the like body to move. In that way, you will feel like better, more energetic. And also because water is very easy to digest, too easy to absorb. So it's less burden for your body, like after a long night. So
good start. Right, who wants to go over the first myth?
So Amanda, do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. So I know the second question was not the same question as what Vimy said, but we kind of discussed it a little bit. So I'm just going to go over that second one again really quick. So earlier she was asking about wheat products. So that's similar to like grain products too, because a lot of people think that like, oh, I should avoid grain products or wheat products for whatever reason. So in this case, they're saying I should avoid it when I try to lose weight. So that's one of the not true ones. The first one, also similar to losing weight, they said to lose weight, you have to give up all your foods. Also not true. So if your favorite food is grain products, then yeah, no, you don't have to give it up. So we're going to bring it back again to what we were saying in the beginning about balanced meals. So grain, protein, vegetables, fruits, and dairy are all part of a balanced meal. So no, you don't have to avoid grain if you're just on a general diet. Again, that might not be the same for if you're gluten-free, if you have celiacs, or if you have any other conditions. If you just have a general diet, you don't need to be gluten-free or avoid grain. It's just about portion control. So you don't want to have only grain products when you're not even when you're just trying to lose weight, just for a healthy diet. You don't have to avoid grain products. You don't have to give up all your favorite foods. It's all about portioning. So let's say your favorite food is cake. You don't want to have a whole cake every day. Maybe you have a couple slices every week, right? So it's all about that. And yeah, I mean, do you have anything else to say about that, Rita?
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah,
I think you cover like pretty much of it. Yeah, I think it's fine. You're
yeah.
good.
Yeah, and then again, also we talked about using whole grains instead of like refined grains. That's another thing as well. Try to have the whole grains because that has fiber, and that will definitely help with making you feel more full. And then if you feel more full, you don't have to eat as much, and maybe that can help you with the weight management.
Yeah, definitely. And also the dietary guideline of Americans actually recommend to consume grains as part of the healthy eating plan. So you shouldn't like exclude it from your diet.
Mm-hmm. But yes, not true.
Yeah.
These are the myths.
So I will cover this slide. First, it's a common question. I got like a lot of them from my friends. Oh, smoothies and juices are healthy, but it's not true because we know that when we buy smoothies or juices at the store, they generally have some added sugar and they really have high calories with that added sugar. And we are recommended by the dietary guidelines that we should only have added sugar less than 10% of the calorie intake of a whole day. And so we want to limit our added sugar as much as we can. And that's why our smoothies and juices, they might have some additives in the, like if we buy it at a store. But if you do the homemade smoothie or homemade juices, that would be definitely considered as healthy because you know what you're adding at. And you know that you're adding all the vegetables and what kind of milk you're adding in. And no worry about like added sugar and no worry about like high calorie. And second would be like high fat food are unhealthy. This is not true because like you have to define what kind of fat you're eating. Like, is it unsaturated fat or is it saturated fat? Usually we know that saturated fat is from like animal product and unsaturated fat is from the plant product. And actually unsaturated fat is we need those fat to like build our body. And fat we're calling it. And if we can also, if we want to add like low fat diet, there could be like more risk if you just limited all the high fat food. And So because many high-fat foods are extremely nutritious and it can help you maintain your healthy weight. And also, you know, like our like skin, we also need that fat to like build on. We just need to limit the portion. We just need to take care, we just need to watch out like how much saturated fat and how much cholesterol we have eaten. That's something we need to pay attention. You want to add anything, Mana?
Yeah, just that some good sources of the unsaturated fats you're talking about, that's more of like the nuts and seeds and things like that versus like beef or pork. That's what has like the saturated fats that you're talking about, just as like an example.
Right.
The coconuts have?
Oh, and also what is it?
There's a picture of like a coconut, like do coconuts have a lot of unsaturated fat?
Yes, and also actually it contains the middle chain fat. I put it here because I want to talk about like, you know, the middle chain fat, they have a different process system in our body. And it actually, you know, actually some people, if you eat the mid chain fat, it can benefit your body by increasing very little calorie. So yeah, it's also unsaturated fat.
Yeah, you just want to watch out with like any fats though, like if you're cooking with coconut oil or cooking with like soybean oil or any of those things, those are technically like plant-based fats, right? But you still don't want to use like too much. It's still about a balance.
Yes, definitely. Do you have any questions, Mimi?
Is there any particular kind of fruits that you would recommend that probably one should try at home, like this fruit smoothie or juice? Because when we talk about different fruits, I think different fruits also organically or originally have different level of sugar. So if there's any recommendation that probably this fruits could be more healthier and you can just try something like this at home if you want to have a smoothie or a juice, like a homemade.
So for juices, like smoothies are a little better because you're blending the whole fruit. Like whole fruits are better just because yes, they do have some sugar. Like all fruits will have some kind of sugar in the end, but at least you're also getting the fiber and all like the vitamins and minerals and such from it. Juices though, like when you're juicing the fruit, you lose all the fiber. So it's mostly just sugar and some vitamins, which is why you like at least homemade smoothies are better than the juices in a way. But you're asking about specific fruits?
Correct. If you have any suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, each kind of fruits has its own benefits. So it's like really up to you and what you're looking for. Like, for example, some people just do like a strawberry banana smoothie or something, right? And that's kind of basic, but like that's good. Like strawberries and bananas are good as long as you're not adding extra sugar in it. Like, you know, it's still going to be pretty good for you.
Yeah, and I feel like if you search online, you can see like a lot of fruits, they contain different vitamins and minerals. You can check if you want to boost which kind of the vitamins and mineral, and you can like do that kind of juice. And also I want to like specify like Amanda just talk about like those sugars. We mean that those sugars are natural in the food, so those are not added sugar that we're talking about. Like they usually added in the juice or smoothies that we bought at the store. So those are different. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to watch out because even if it's 100% fruit juice, like 100% orange fruit juice, like we might think it's healthy because it comes from oranges, but again, like whole oranges are better because it's going to have the fiber and all the other stuff. So
yes.
Also, I see we have a new participant. So hello and welcome.
Hello. Thought I'd stop in and see what's going on.
Sean, what's up?
I have a question related to the last slide. So there are like a lot of different sort of diet healthy options that I see these days, like keto or, you know, I don't know, name whatever other ones you want. But what do you think about this idea of you absolutely must eliminate certain things from your diet? You must eliminate fat, or you must eliminate carbs, or you must eliminate red meat or meat altogether to be healthy. Is that true?
Do you want to take that one, Manda?
Yeah, I can start. Generally, if you don't, like we talked about this a little earlier before you arrived, but generally, if you don't have any specific condition, like for example, if you have to be gluten-free because of celiacs, like there's no real reason to eliminate a whole food group from your diet, like especially carbs. Like that's a really good energy source for you. So especially like if you're an athlete or you're physically active or something, like that's not something you want to cut out of your diet generally. But again, everyone's different. So like I don't want to give, you know, overarching advice and say like, no, keto doesn't work, because it could work for some people. And, you know, some people might need it for specific reasons. But I'm going to say generally, like, no, you don't have to eliminate foods like that. It's mostly about having like a balanced diet and making sure that you're getting all the nutrients you need. So Rita, I don't know if you want to add on that.
Yes, I totally agree with everything Amanda just said. And just want to add to that, if we as a dietitian, we don't recommend any special diet for generally healthy person. And for the keto diet, if you already like adopt that and you feel like you like it and you think that's a reasonable and a feasible like lifestyle you want to adopt, and you can. And the thing is, for the keto diet, as long as you're like quit keto diet, because for the keto diet you have to like keep very low carbohydrate, but after you like get all the carbohydrate back to your diet, you won't keep the same weight or like the same body, like the system, even the processing system as you were in on the keto diet, and it will just like go back to your normal thing. So it's not a long thing. If we want to like keep it as your lifestyle change, that we won't say that we don't want you to. If you want, you definitely can, but we don't recommend, because the dietary guideline always recommend the balanced meals, because that's where you get all the nutrients you need from the different food.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was about to say the same too, because you asked about getting meat out of your diet too, like so vegan or vegetarian lifestyles. Like, of course, you can be totally healthy on those, but if you're only doing it to lose weight and, you know, it doesn't work out for you and it backfires, like there's no point in doing that. But if that's a lifestyle choice and you're healthy doing that, then yeah, like that's totally fine.
Yeah, that was my question, I guess, for like, you know, you see a lot of things for weight loss and people are like, oh, if I cut out red meat, then I'll lose weight, or oh, if I cut out carbs, then I'll lose weight. And the commercials sound convincing, right? But maybe they're not.
Yeah, so for carbs is also such a really big food group. For red meats, that's pretty specific. So that one makes more sense almost, because, you know, we know red meats like beef and pork are pretty high in fat, like saturated fats. So that one could make more sense. But if someone says cut out carbs, you know, period, for no reason, just to lose weight, like that's, you know, typically not such a great idea, because if there's no specific reason for it, then, you know, like why, you know?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Yes, thank you for your question.
So this is the last method we found online. Like physical activity only counts if you do it for a long period of time. Well, the truth is not true, this sentence, because you don't need to be like active for a long periods to get the amount of regular physical activity recommended in the like guideline for Americans, which will be like 150 minutes and for like a week. And that's indicating for the moderate intensive activity. And as long as you're doing some physical activity, you're like let your body keeping like your comfortable position, and you don't have to like do like really long time thing. And yes, And also like physical activity, you can divide them into like the exercise you're doing, like in the like running or walking or like the biking, or it's just like the general when you cook, you stand up, and when you like listen to the class, you want to like just stand up and like walk for some while. That would be like counts for the physical activity as well. So
doing laundry.
Yes.
Doing the dishes. Yeah, yes. There's so many like little things you can do that count. Like that, you know, I mean, they don't make you sweat, but they are times when your body's active, and that's just very important to like keep doing those things like throughout your day to kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, keep moving. You don't want to become a couch potato. Right. Okay, how do I... Got it. Okay, that was the last one. All right, so if you're still here, then, and I mean the people listening to the recording, then hopefully you still have our email. You can look forward to these events, which we will be emailing out later, but they're set in stone now. So March 25th, we have a workshop with Dr. Maresca, and I don't think it's doctor, I guess it's just Mr. Williams. But yeah, so someone from the Rutgers Health Services, who is a part of the HOPE program, the Health Outreach, Promotion, and Education. And then Dave Williams is the Executive Director of the Recreation Services. So I chose to reach out to these people at Rutgers so that they could provide, obviously, information on their expertise dealing with mental health and physical health. And we want to get them to kind of give their side of how everything fits together with your overall health. So obviously we talk about nutrition, and nutrition is extremely important for fueling you and helping you build a healthy body. But you really, if you eat really well and maybe don't exercise and maybe don't take care of your mental health, you still might not feel good. So at this workshop, we aim to just kind of cover all the bases of like how you want to take care of yourself and your overall wellness. So be there for that. You can ask them questions, and they will provide you with also resources from Rutgers to, you know, any, I think Dr. Maresca will talk about CAPS a little bit. Now I forgot what CAPS stands for. The mental health services that we have at Rutgers, and then Dave Williams will talk about the recreation services. I am looking forward mostly to this because while the CAPS services have not changed during the pandemic very much, obviously the gyms and everything have changed how they're functioning. So hopefully he'll give us like some good advice on how to still stay active. And then on April 16th, we have a workshop with Dr. Paula Castro. She is part of, so NJHKI, I think is the Health Kids Institute. I'm sorry, I can't remember right now. But yeah, she is part of the NJIFN, right? The New Jersey Institute for Food and Nutrition, and the Health and Dining Services. So she is very high up there in the food goings about at Rutgers. So she has her hand in a couple different like programs and a couple different departments, like kind of being the oversight for making sure that everyone has the proper nutrition and food. I guess for like, you know, anything from the dining halls to like possibly events to any programs helping children, not just students. So we gave her a list of a couple topics that are listed here. How to eat with different, like what your diet should be like depending on your activity level, like supplements. Everyone always wants to know about that because they're very sketchy sometimes. How to eat healthy on a budget, so some advice about that. And yeah, so possibly more nutrition myths. She will choose her own topic, hopefully the first one, because that was the top requested one from our survey. So just keep on the email and you'll hear about this again, and sign up and get the link, and you'll be able to hear from all of these very informative Rutgers faculty.
Timing for March 26th and April 16th?
All right, thank you for listening.
Sorry, Vivi, what did you say? I think Vivi asked a question, but I couldn't really hear it that well.
Yeah, no, is there a timing for March 26th and April 16th workshops?
Yeah, they're always at
12.
noon, all our workshops.
Yeah, 12 to 1 p.m.
12 to 1, okay.
Yeah. We're trying to keep consistent, so easy to remember too.
Yeah.
12 to 1.
Any questions? Any myths you want to talk about?
Does this group have this Zoom? Do you do this every month?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so let's say you want to attend another workshop, but that's, you know, maybe the workshop isn't the topic you want to talk about. Like, you can still attend and maybe just like stay in the chat and ask questions if you want to talk to us, because we'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this was very helpful. I really want to thank all of you, because not that many people have the awareness about health and nutrition. And I think you did shed a wonderful light of, even if it's generalized, the more we attend this kind of meetings, the more we become aware and vigilant about what day-to-day foods we are eating and what we need to cut on it. I really like the idea of how to write in the diary, what are your trigger points. I mean, those are small tips, but very much beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance and your feedback.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is it last slide? Oh yes, some references.
Yeah, here's our references. And that's all for today's lecture. Thank you for your attendance, Wimi and Sean. If you have like more questions, you can just send it to our like email. Yeah.
Yeah, we're usually on top of that. Either me or Ua will respond. So
yeah,
it'll be quick.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks.
It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Let's stop the recording.